Hello everyone, Floyd Meyer here. I am a physician assistant. I have a master's in public health. I have a degree in molecular biology, and I'm currently working in physical medicine and rehabilitation. This week we're going to continue our series on resilience, which is the ability to remain well, recover, or even thrive in the face of adversity. Last week we were talking about how important micronutrients are to improving your immune resilience. Now this week we're going to be discussing hydration and how adequate water intake is essential for maintaining our overall resilience. One major component of our overall resilience is this concept of physiologic reserves. So your physiologic reserve is the potential capacity of a cell, of a tissue, or of an organ system to function beyond its basal levels in response to some type of alteration in the demands that are placed on it. And when our bodies are in some type of a stressful situation, whether that be physical stress, like you have to run, or some type of a mental stress, like you have a very difficult project, we are forced to either overcome these barriers or to break under that pressure. And the difference in outcomes lies in the capacity of our body to function beyond our normal baseline levels, which is our physiologic reserve. So for instance, if you are already redlining the system, like doing an extremely difficult workout, and then you are put into a situation immediately afterwards that you need to push your body even farther, you may not be able to do that because the reserves have already been depleted. This is how I think about hydration and its influence on our overall resilience. Mild dehydration is extremely common and it affects many different populations, but the most populations that are most significantly affected tend to be older individuals and then people that participate in activities and are doing things that are outside in some type of a hot environment. Now, according to an article in the journal Nutrition Reviews, quote, under relatively mild levels of dehydration, individuals engaging in rigorous physical activity will experience decrements in performance related to reduced endurance, increased fatigue, altered thermoregulatory capabilities, reduced motivation, and an increase in perceived effort. You don't need to be extremely dehydrated in order to see these decreases in the body's ability to handle some type of an added stress. Not only does dehydration affect the physical body, but the mind can be directly impacted as well. The same review goes on to state that mild levels of dehydration can produce disruption in mood and cognitive functioning. And they saw significant changes in the subjective mood scores, including increased fatigue, increased confusion, and anger. So not only is being dehydrated directly impacting performance, but it's also affecting your perception how difficult a task is. And that's going to make them seem more difficult and more annoying. And if you perceive something as more difficult and more frustrating, it's going to take more energy for you to overcome that perceived difficulty, and that's going to leave you less energy to focus on other important tasks, other things that you need to get done throughout the day. Now that we know that mild dehydration is going to affect our performance both physically and mentally, how does chronic mild levels of dehydration affect our overall chronic disease risk? Unfortunately, there's not really a good standard for measuring hydration at the population level. And because of that, the data surrounding the connection between chronic disease and mild dehydration is pretty muddy. But what we do know for sure is that dehydration is going to directly impact kidney function. And in an article posted in the Annals of Nutrition and Metabolism, they stated that, quote, multiple associations have been reported between fluid intake, kidney and metabolic health outcomes, including chronic kidney disease, recurrence of kidney stones, and some metabolic markers of hyperglycemia. And they go on to say that individuals who reported the highest intake of plain water had significantly reduced risk of chronic kidney disease and was associated with cardiovascular disease and all-cause mortality. And according to another journal article in Nutrition Reviews, they said, quote, the kidneys function more efficiently in the presence of an abundant water supply. Without adequate water intake, the kidneys will expend a greater amount of energy and incur more wear on their tissues. And this is especially likely to occur when the kidneys are under some type of a stress. So, for example, when the diet contains an excessive amount of salt or toxic substances that need to be eliminated. So consequently, drinking a sufficient amount of water will help protect this vital organ. And I think that this last statement is really the most important when it comes to our conversation on hydration and resilience, because the idea that when the body is under increased stress, it's more important to have this adequate hydration. That's how we want to be thinking about things. We're preparing for those times that the body is going to be under stress because it's going to happen. And we want to make sure that we have everything at an optimal level. For example, our hydration, we want us to have optimal hydration so that we can better buffer those stressors and be more resilient. So what does it take to be sufficiently hydrated? Now, in general, our normal daily intakes, we want to shoot for getting somewhere between 2.5 to 3 liters of water per day in order to be sufficiently hydrated. And this may seem a lot, in my time practicing medicine, I've had very few patients that are reaching these goals, reaching these requirements of getting adequate hydration. And it doesn't need to be just plain water. Some people think, I need to drink 3 liters of water. Well, no, coffee counts, teas count, soups count, any type of liquid foods are going to count to your overall liquid intake. This is the overall amount of waters that you should be taking in throughout the day. But, for most people, I recommend getting at least 2 liters of water. And a very easy way to do that is to just get some 1 liter water bottles and then just fill that up twice a day. And that will ensure that you are getting that 2 liters, 2.5 liters per day of water intake versus trying to do like the 8-ounce glasses. It becomes very difficult and people end up forgetting how many glasses did I have? Did I have 5? Did I have 6? Was it 4? I don't really remember. Versus most people can easily remember if they had 2 of these 1 liter water bottles. So that's what I usually recommend for people. Now, that requirement, that 2 to 3 liters per day, that's just normal baseline. This can increase significantly if you are going to be sweating a lot, if you're going to be outside, you're going to be out in the heat, things like that. It can go up to 6 liters per day, and for some athletes, it's actually even higher than that. So if you are going to be outside, or if you're going to be in the heat, or you're going to be exercising and sweating profusely, I'd say about for every hour that you are exercising, that you are, sweating a significant amount, you would want to add about 1 liter of your total intake per day. So, normally you get the 2.5 to 3 liters per day, but then you're working outside and you have to work outside for 2 hours, then you might want to add another 1 to 2 liters of water to your normal intake. And again, this may seem like a lot of water and it's more than most people drink, but that's because so many people are actually chronically dehydrated, and that's affecting their overall performance and their overall resilience. Now, I hope that this has been helpful. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If this resonated with you, make sure that you are sharing it with your friends, with your family. Make sure that you're subscribing and following, because we are going to be continuing our series on resilience in the coming weeks and months. Now, again, this is Floyd Meyer. Have a great day.